innovation, opening the toolbox. Now, we've seen the challenge of innovation management in what we might call spaghetti world, a place where knowledge is distributed not just inside the organization, but outside as well, and amongst all sorts of different people with different pieces of the knowledge puzzle. So, in a world like that, we have to recognize that innovation is a multiplayer game. We're talking about open innovation. And that really puts us in a world where we're thinking around knowledge flow, not simply knowledge creation. And there, in that world, connection and interactivity, networking inside and outside the organization become critical. And it's not just a matter of new knowledge, it may be using existing knowledge in new ways, what's sometimes called recombinant innovation. So the challenge that really faces managers is how we might enable those connections. Now let's look at this challenge and an innovation problem which took place a long time ago, but nonetheless one which benefited from an open approach. The problem was that the British Navy kept losing its ships, not a good thing to do for a navy. The reason was simple: those ships couldn't navigate properly. And the trigger for this new approach to innovation was a disaster. A squadron of ships thought they were sailing into the harbour of Plymouth in the southwest of England. In fact, they were 50 miles further west and about to run aground on some very bad rocks. Now, faced with such a disaster, the Admiralty had to do something. They understood the problem, which was that the ships couldn't navigate because they couldn't measure longitude. They could measure latitude, but you need latitude and longitude to plot a precise position. And longitude depends on being able to tell the time correctly. So what they were looking for was an innovation. Could somebody come up with a timepiece, a reliable, portable chronometer? And to solve this problem, they opened it up. They put up a large prize worth a great deal of money in today's cash and basically asked anyone for their ideas to solve it. And all sorts of people suggested things, including a gentleman called John Harrison, who devised this beautiful thing which still exists in the Greenwich Maritime Museum and was a successful portable chronometer. So the problem was solved, but it took a great deal of organising and the backing of someone as senior as the King of England to help make it happen. The same sort of thing happened across the Channel. The Emperor Louis Napoleon III, remembering what his grandfather had told him, an army marches on its stomach, was very concerned that the problem for many of his armies was that the food they carried went bad. And in particular, the butter that they wanted to spread on their long slices of bread went rancid. So could somebody come up with an alternative to butter that didn't go bad? Same idea, very senior level backing, opening the challenge up to an innovation competition, and the result was margarine. Whether you like the product or not, its origins go back once again to an innovation contest. Now, these are two examples from a long time ago about opening the problem up so that many minds might solve it. But of course, today we're in a very strong position. If we wanted to launch that kind of innovation competition this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning, it would be very simple to do. And basically, we're now in a world where we can make an innovation contest happen very easily. We can crowdsource our problem. More than that, we can open it up across a marketplace. This is an example, a company called Innocentive.com, one of many innovation marketplaces. The principle is very simple. It's like eBay for innovation. On the one side of the market, seekers. I'm seeking a solution to my problem. I want input for my innovation. On the other side of the market, solvers. I think I can solve your problem. And the beauty of it is that anybody can play. 9-year-old schoolboy, 90-year-old retired engineer, anyone can offer their services. Now, this kind of idea platform functions extremely well. In fact, Innocentive has a database where it reckons it has around 250,000, 250,000 regular solvers, people who offer solutions to various kinds of problems that are posted on its marketplace. So we have a tremendous mobilization of minds going on in this era. Now let's look at a couple of examples. Goldcorp, a Canadian organisation, was struggling to find gold. It knew it had gold. In the past it had mined rather well. It owned land under which there was probably gold deposits, but it didn't know where to find them. And so, as an alternative approach to using its internal scientists and geologists, it opened up the challenge. It took an approach very similar to that used in Linux, open source. And basically the Goldcorp challenge made available all their data, all their information, all their surveys and mining information, and invited anybody who wanted to play to suggest where they should start drilling and why. And around 1,400 scientists from around 50 countries got involved in the competition. The result was successful. Goldcorp has done extremely well. It found the gold, and it found it, in fact, using knowledge from a team in Australia who had never visited the place in Canada. It's an example, again, of this idea of crowdsourcing, of opening up the innovation challenge. And perhaps one of the poster children for all of this approach is Procter Gamble. As we've already mentioned, since the late 1990s, Procter Gamble have been rethinking their approach to innovation, moving from something which served them well for 150 years, traditional research and development, doing a lot of internal knowledge with a lot of internal market and technical information coming together to create new products. But basically, by the turn of the 21st century, Procter & Gamble decided they needed a different approach. And in the future, they were going to source many of their ideas from outside and also try and use their own knowledge elsewhere than in their own corporation. And so Connect and Develop was launched with a very simple challenge. 50%, half of our ideas and innovations will come from outside. And over the last 20 years, they've had a string of successes. Not just one or two lucky shots, but a string of successes. Things like the Spin Brush, a portable, low-cost toothbrush, particularly targeted at the children's market, which came in from a team of entrepreneurs from outside. Or the CoverGirl lip balm, which again was working with an external organization. Or Crest white strips, an example here where inside a large corporation there was a degree of opening up. There were many different teams in different continents working on a similar problem. How do you clean surfaces? One team, Crest, were concerned with cleaning teeth. Another team were concerned with bleaches and floor cleaners. But actually the knowledge they had could be brought together, connect and develop. And it led to a very successful new product range called Crest White Strips. Or printed Pringles, essentially an approach to trying to print on a Pringle all sorts of information, marketing campaigns and so on. But essentially printed Pringles, an idea that came from inside the company as an idea and was then sourced across an open market to find eventually a small bakery in Bologna in Italy. And these people in Italy had developed an edible ink and a simple printing process. And they did a nice line in customized birthday cakes. So, connect and develop, bridge across these two very different worlds, and you enable the possibility for a completely new product category. Now, these are all examples of something we've been seeing throughout this film. What we can do with some powerful new tools, but built on old principles, which allow us to connect, to expand into innovation markets, to use innovation contests, essentially to mobilize many ideas, many minds to crowdsource innovation.